librarian, I think that essentially education is nobody's business but the learner. And so, you know, for example, when we go to a library, they really don't make us sit down and take a test in order to leave the building, you know. In other words, they assume that we're learners. When we go in there, we have whatever our purposes are, and that's it. So that, I think, is really a different philosophy. But I think there's nothing wrong with developing some measurements for the things that we think are important.
Yeah, and I would agree. I wouldn't be categorically opposed to metrics. But I think there is a paradigm shift here that would make your question maybe a little less urgent. And that's when we see that learning comes from within, that every child comes into the world with some passion or some wanting to connect, wanting to be part of society, you go with that, you run with that. That's your metric. It's contained within us. You don't need something external. Now, I'm not.
If you believe kids are natural learners, then that's the approach.
Yeah. But to really see, that sounds hopelessly idealistic in this cultural setting, right? How can you, like, it'd be chaos, right? How can you do that? And I'm saying somehow, if our culture can shift to where we recognize that, we take that for granted, that you can trust the individual, you can trust human learning, it changes things. I don't know how we get from here to there, but I'd like to see that happen. I know we're pretty much out of time, but you had your hand?
I was just going to respond to what you were saying about the public school system. We're actually, some of us are here from Ridge and Valley Charter School, which was very much started by a group of community members who wanted to be outside of traditional public school system. About 10 years ago, not long after the legislation was written, and it actually came out of, interestingly enough, the Office of Innovative Programs at the federal level. But because they needed someone to administrate it, who do they choose but the local Department of Education in New Jersey or, you know, wherever your state happens to be. But because of the structure and the need to measure things, they're trying to fit innovation into an old system, which has failed, which they know. So you really can't look to the old system to inform the educational systems of the future. You might as well just get over that idea, because even we just came from a two-day charter school conference, and the whole gist of it was raising up the minority groups in order for them to be economically successul, not anything about holism of the child or how our economic system is impacting the earth or anything about that. So now even the charter school initiative really is co-opted by that old paradigm. So the Department of Education is not where you can go. I'm just telling you.
Yeah. So you're more to stare at.
So there are a few other hands up, but I think we should save that for the groups. I'll be circulating among the groups. So if you have,
how about if we do one more question?
One more?
Yeah, how about that? And then we'll...
Okay, well, you got it.
The child does need specific services, such as with dyslexia. We know that there are certain programs that do help. And your service, let's just say that their teachers, do they have the qualifications necessarily to support that child? I have a background for dyslexia in Columbia, and my question is, are those opportunities given to that child? Are there different type of support systems?
Well, I'm talking about an ideal in the future, so I can't tell you what's in any given school, but the basic principle is that every child gets a learning environment that works for them, that helps them, and if you have special needs, there should be provision for that. But I think, I don't know how deeply we want to get into this, but to some extent, I don't know if I can prove this or anything, but it seems that to some extent what we call learning disabilities are the mismatch between how kids learn and this institution. And if you have an environment that's flexible and not competitive, and it's okay not to read when you're 5 years old, a lot of that goes away. Now, not all of it.
That's fine.
Yeah, certainly there are individuals whose brains work differently and need some special special help, but I don't, in principle, there's no reason to, why that shouldn't be part of this kind of education. You said one more.
Should I stick to it? I think so.
Okay, you heard her.
Yeah, who is that?
That's your mom.
All right.
Yep.
The last one.
Okay.
She's my babysitter, so
She pulled rank.
You know, I taught for over 25 years, and it was so unbearable in the end that I quit. And I quit before my pension was great and before my money situation was great. But I quit because it actually was feeling like child abuse. And a fish doesn't know that he's swimming in water until he jumps up, looks down, and says, water. A teacher doesn't really get what has happened in education until they step out and look back and see what really is happening. And the only way to alter what is happening is really through the parents. If enough parents speak up and say, I will not allow my child to continually do this or do that, state testing or whatever, it will change. It's not the burden of the child, and the teachers are hanging on to their job. It's not the teachers, it's the parents. So as educators, we need to get to the parents so that they speak up and they take a stand about the future of how their child is being educated.
Yes.
Good note to end on.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.